Hi, this is video 2 about the fact that I am on acetazolamide, which was prescribed to me by Coventry and Warwickshire University Hospital Neurology Department. My doctor, bless him, he rang me back today and he did write to the neurology department on my behalf because the symptoms I've been having whilst being on acetazolamide to treat a neurological condition have basically caused the rest of my body to be unresponsive to anything else treatment-wise that I've been taking for the past several years. The problem with taking acetazolamide is, unfortunately, it's a drug that I have to take because they're saying if I don't take it, then the likelihood is that I will end up having epilepsy or epileptic seizures or fluid on the brain, which could then link to encephalitis. From what I gather, I mean, they haven't really sat down and talked to me about my condition, which is really annoying. The other problem is still my eyes, which is where the condition originally started. I went in to the eye clinic, number 9 eye clinic at Coventry and Warwickshire and University Hospital, and the staff in there were absolutely amazing. I've been in there a number of times with my family for various eye complaints, and they would not let me leave until I had a CT scan, and that was in April. And the breakdown literally happened within 72 hours after having my CT scan and being told that I had a condition that was basically putting pressure on my optic nerves and building up of fluid in my brain. And since then, the ongoing battle of breakdown in communication that I've had to deal with between each department that I'm currently under at Coventry and Warwickshire University Hospital and my GP has been an absolute nightmare. And the medication I've been prescribed is horrible. The side effects of this medication are so severe and so extreme that if there was genuinely anything else wrong with me, the likelihood is the symptoms would end up being masked by me taking acetazolamide. So I'm seriously stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the problems that I am having is I'm having a lot of gastroenterology. Basically, anything to do with my digestive system is completely fucked at the moment. I'm getting constant sickness, I'm getting constant diarrhea, and I'm like, well, if I'm being sick, then I'm not obviously taking the medication because I'm bringing it straight back up. But they're like, oh, just take it again. And I don't particularly want to be ODing on this medication because worst case scenario with acetazolamide is it can result in kidney and liver damage and then ultimately kidney and liver failure. So I've been painstakingly trying to follow the instructions, a lack of instructions I've been given by the hospital and obviously by my GP, who didn't even recommend this medication for me, to try and make it through every single day of the week since being put on this medication since the 16th of April. But my symptoms, such as like my headaches and being very photosensitive, having blurred vision, not being able to be on like a laptop or my phone for long periods of time, struggling to read paperwork in front of me, walking around without feeling disorientated, lightheaded, dizzy or nauseous. Those symptoms have not subsided. In fact, when they first asked me if I had any of those symptoms, my answer was no. After my first initial eye test, those symptoms did not start to manifest for at least 72 hours. So I'd like to say thank you to the eye clinic at the hospital, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be talking to you now. They, just from doing a routine eye investigation, were able to notice that there was something more seriously wrong with me. But unfortunately, the way that neurology have handled the situation has not been great. And the medication that they have given me has basically suppressed all the other medication that I take on a daily basis, preventing it from working. And living with mental health, that's not good, because I literally, over the last couple of weeks, have been feeling extremely suicidal, more than usual, because again, my medication is not working properly, and my doctor is aware of that, but there's nothing, sadly, he can do other than put me in touch with the mental health team, which he has done, and they will be speaking to me later on this month. And the other problem I've got is that I suffer with what is called, sorry, because I have to keep closing my eyes, so I'm sorry if I kept dropping my phone, is bile acid malabsorption, also known as bile acid diarrhea. Now, a lot of the times people say, oh, you only get that after you've had your gallbladder removed, which I did have done when I was 30. It was the 1st of December, 2014. But my symptoms of suffering with chronic fatigue, sickness, diarrhea on a weekly and daily basis, I've had them ever since I started my menstrual cycle. And this is why I'm so glad that more things are being looked into with women's health to support women. Because the amount of days and weeks and months, and years that I literally suffered in pain for something that I was told, oh, yeah, it's fine, it's just normal. Well, I'm sorry, pissing, shitting and puking yourself for 3 days solid before your period starts from the age of 14 years old up until your 30s, because that's when I had my son, is not normal. And no woman should ever have to go through that. And then everything kind of calmed down. And then after I had my third child, everything came back again. All my symptoms came back. They didn't know that I needed to have my gallbladder removed till after my first son, even though my symptoms were constantly digestive issues. I couldn't eat certain foods without puking my guts up on a weekly and daily basis. And they were like, oh, it's just morning sickness. And I'm like, yes, but I've been living with this since I was 14. It can't be morning sickness. The last 7.5 months, yes, would have been potentially morning sickness. But outside the window of me not being pregnant, the underlying health problems that I've had to live with have been constantly dismissed. And again, like I said, I mean, it was just absolutely amazing that the eye clinic could use the technology they have today to look at the back of my eyes and said, right, you're not going home, you need a CT scan. You've got pressure on your optic nerves. You shouldn't even be walking around. You shouldn't, with the symptoms that my eyes were showing, according to the tests they'd done, I shouldn't have even been standing up without wanting to fall over. But like I said, those symptoms didn't start until about 72 hours afterwards. And then after I had a lumbar puncture, after being in hospital for 30 hours, most of that spent in A&E, but that's a separate issue. They put me on acetazolamide, and since I've been put on that medication, all of my symptoms that I have been spending the last about 3.5 years of my life trying to control, trying to manage, trying to build a structure and a routine around in order to, take care of my children, hopefully go back to work one day, which sadly hasn't happened, have basically escalated. And the only reason I'm doing this video now is because I'm in the bath. And this is probably the 4th bath that I've had to have today. And it's the only thing that is actually helping with the pain that I'm currently enduring. But when I'm not in the bath, I'm on the toilet. And I am literally puking my guts up and having diarrhea at the same time. And the worst episode that I've currently had to endure started at 3 o'clock this morning, and it's now after 5 o'clock in the evening. The last time I felt this bad, I seriously thought I was going to have a heart attack and die. And again, that was a couple of weeks ago. So I was recommended by my GP to not reduce the amount of medication I take, but to space it out. So take it every 4 hours as opposed to 500 milligrams in the morning and 500 milligrams in the evening. Now he's had a response from the neurology team. They want to put me back down to 250 in the morning and 250 in the evening. So I'm only taking 500 as opposed to 1,000 milligrams of acetazolamide. But it has been absolutely excruciating to deal with and live with. And I wouldn't wish this on anyone. And I think the worst thing that I always keep saying whenever I do any of my videos is it's the breakdown in communication. It's the fact that nobody has spoken to me about my condition. They treat you like you are a child, and nobody is sitting you down and saying, right, this is what's wrong with you. This is why we think that's what's wrong with you. We're going to give you this medication, but, this is what could happen. I remember going into hospital and saying to the neurology department, I have the following health problems. Please tell me that you are not going to be putting me on medication that, 1, is not likely to work, and 2, is going to make those health problems worse. And they said, no, you'll be fine. And that's not the case. My life, I have always tried to push myself. Yes, I have gone to work when I've had sickness and diarrhea because I know that it wasn't food poisoning. I know that it wasn't a bug. I knew that it was all to do with my menstrual cycle. It was to do with an underlying misdiagnosis of potentially irritable bowel syndrome or having gallstones, again, which did not get diagnosed until I was in my 30s. Or base plain and simple bile acid malabsorption. But all of those symptoms are very, very similar. The same with Crohn's disease, the same with colitis, the same with endometriosis. And they always say to you, if you have sickness and diarrhea for more than 3 days, go see a GP. And the amount of times I have seen my GP since the age of 14, and I've gone in and I've gone, look, I've got sickness, I've got diarrhea. And they've just said, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine. Well, clearly that was never the case. And today, since 3 o'clock this morning, my symptoms of having severe sickness and diarrhea have got worse. So I'm trying my best to push through it. And then we'll see how I am again in the morning. But if you are experiencing any symptoms for a long period of time, or are put on any new medication or any medication that you're not used to or not sure about, please seek professional help. Do not suffer in silence. Thank you.